Well, good evening and welcome to Buffalo Wild Wings in Moorhead as we present this year's Moorhead sports teams for the fall season. From Buffalo Wild Wings tonight, we are excited to look forward to the upcoming season and hope that all of you will enjoy and continue to enjoy Spud Sports right here on Spuds TV. We have coaches Amber Fugelberg, we have Isaac Lundberg, Chris Musselman, Ben Patry, Josh Craig, Brett Hartwig, Kevin Feeney, Dean Haugo will round things out as we work our way through the evening. And we start things off with volleyball. Amber Fugelberg is with us in what, now your third year?
Third year, yes.
Is that correct? And we take a look back on the history of Moorhead volleyball. It's Karen Schumacher kind of, before that even, I think of Mrs. Bach. I don't know that she coached, but women's sports would not be what it is today without Miss Bach. And so we always try to remember her and for her input into girls athletics. And the Karen Schumacher and then Charlene, both of which had what? There was an extended tenure of time for each of those, and so you've got a lot of time ahead of you in order to catch up. And so,
Yes, I do.
what are some of your thoughts when you think about Moorhead's volleyball program?
Yeah, I think we've had a rich program for a really long time. They started kind of that foundation of what Moorhead volleyball is, and I think, learning from Karen, she wasn't necessarily one of my coaches, but she was one of my teachers in high school, and you could see the principles that she kind of instilled in her students were the same that she had instilled in some of her athletes. And then playing for Shar, I think, it's just such a rich community, and the way they go about their practices and really dedicating their time to making sure that you're not a good athlete but a good all-around player and person, I think is something that's really important that I kind of took away from what they have taught me that I want to continue to instill in the athletes today, is that it's not all about just being the best athletes, it's about being the best person too.
And that goes a long ways towards the goal of education. The student athlete is just that. It's a student and an athlete, and they will constantly try to be better as their lives work their way down.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we have a lot to be proud of, especially because our girls have reached that gold academic status for the last many, many years that I know of, and they're, great human beings when I see them interact with people off the court as well. And so I think it just sets a true testament to what our program is and the beliefs that we've had and what's been instilled, since the very beginning. And I think that's a rich tradition that I want to continue to uphold.
Amber Fugelberg is with us, Moorhead girls volleyball coach, as they are nearing the start of this new season. What are some of the things that you like about the players coming back?
Yeah, we have 9 seniors, so we're very senior heavy, and I think, it just shows how much dedication and time they've put into the program, and just chit-chatting with them and talking with them and hearing what they want to kind of leave their legacy behind is that they want everyone to know that they're hard workers and that they want the program to always be better. And I think you can't get that experience that we have this year because of the people that they are and what they put into this program. And they are super hard workers, and I'm super thankful for that because it makes my job so much more enjoyable to come when I know that they're willing to work hard, not only for themselves, but for each other and the girls that they're on the court next to
9
as well.
seniors, that's a number we don't hear very often.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
a lot.
That's a lot. They got it, but it's been a long time coming to
Yes.
build them up and get them ready for the upcoming season.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely taken, some of them a little bit longer than maybe they would have anticipated, but, they have all worked hard. They've trusted the process that we've, instilled in them over the years, and just continuing to lay out what everyone's role is, I think is something that's really important for this team this season. And what I've noticed is that they all are buying into what that role is, and they're all willing to support each other however they can and make the team better. And I think that's a true testament of, the people that they are, like we talk about, better person than they are even an athlete. So.
That's a key phrase that we hear, especially in athletics, is to buy into the system. And I guess if you can learn to play within the system, you get a better result.
Yeah, for sure. I think, each one of them brings something so unique, and we wouldn't be the same without them. And so having them kind of break down what they bring to the team and really buying into their role and what their role is for the team really is helpful understanding what we need from them each and every single day, whether it's at practice or in matches. So, yeah.
So with that, we're going to have take a moment, and we're going to meet some of your student athletes.
Yes.
And with that, I'm going to stand and we'll introduce first Addie Salvo for her play. We've heard a little bit about what it takes to become a Spuds volleyball player. What are some of the things you've picked up from the game since you started since a sophomore? Say maybe not a ninth grader, but a sophomore for sure.
Yeah, I'd say definitely hard work. I think that we all treat each other like we're family, and I think that all of us bring each other up and have a lot of energy, so I'd say that hard work pays off.
So many times we see that when you have successful teams, they're not only successful at one level or with one other team, you have more to do other than in the fall. You've got winter sports, you've got spring sports, and the players that you are with also double and triple up.
Yeah, the players definitely, they've become so close to me, and it's been really fun getting to know all the people through my sports, and I've definitely made friendships that will last forever.
I know Ben Bogenreef has indicated that she'd be very happy to come and join us up here, so if you want to, Madden, come on, yeah. Come on up. And we're going to find out now your version of what we've heard from first your coach and then your player here. What are some of the things that you have picked up from the team over the years that you've played?
I think that our team this year, compared to the other years, is a lot closer than teams past. And I think that we all work very well together because we've all been coming up together and we've continued to get closer and closer. And it just kind of helps with our chemistry on the court, and we're all very hardworking, which we're all pushing for the same goal every single year. And I think that when we first started out, it was hard because, we were young, but now since we've been with each other every year and we've been pushing for the same goal every year, we've just gotten better and better.
You feel like the way the progress has been made?
Yes.
And so that means nothing but success, I guess, this upcoming year.
Yes, exactly.
Let's take a look at your season. When does it start?
Our first home game is the 27th.
That's coming up real soon.
Yep.
And who is the opponent?
Brainerd.
Oh,
Brainerd.
Brainerd is a team, no matter what sport is involved, is the game. There are a lot of rivalry games between Moorhead and Brainerd.
Yeah, and last year they had a lot to say about us, so this year we'll really give it to them.
So you remember that?
Yeah, at our scrimmages they thought that they were going to beat us and beat up on us, and then I guess we showed them.
Well, I'm looking forward to the Brainerd match, so we'd like to say thank you for being a part of our show here tonight.
Thanks.
And
Yeah.
for you, let's continue. Have you got enough to say about what your girls are talking about, the little smack that goes on?
Yes, they're so funny because I always hear the kind of the behind the scenes chit chat, and so it's always fun to hear the banter that goes on. You don't really realize that all the time, but they are gamers. They love to be competitive. They love to play, and so it's kind of nice to have that competitiveness. Sometimes they're not always, yes, they're nice girls, but they like to win too. So I think that's a fun
nice
characteristic to have too. They have a balance, which is good.
So when you were asked that same question as a player, how did you respond?
Oh, I always had certain dates circled on my calendar. When Bemidji was coming to town or when we were going to Bemidji, that was an extra special game for me as well. Alexandria, those are always the teams that we seem to have the most competitive rivalry with. And I think, through the years, it's fun to see how that kind of changes and how it develops. But Brainerd and Bemidji and Alexandria have kind of always been those rivalries that have stayed consistent with us in the section, and I think those big games are, we even talked about that today. They all have the Bemidji game circled as well. So.
Well, I was just going to say that you might have their name circled, but
Yeah.
I'll bet they've got.
Oh,
your
I
name
bet they
saved.
do too. Yeah.
Most schools consider Moorhead one of the key rivalry games in their schedule.
Yes, and I think even switching up some of the Fargo teams that we're playing this year, I think they have those calendar dates circled. We used to love our rivalry with West Fargo Cheyenne, and we don't play them this year. We weren't able to get them on our schedule, and so we have the West Fargo Packers and Fargo Shanley, and I think just kind of hearing that they're friends with some of those players and they've made those connections, outside of volleyball, and they're still excited for that crosstown rivalry as well. So they love to show up, and they love to prove that, the work that they've put in is important, and that it's that hard work, like Addie had said, is that the hard work pays off. And I think they love to show up on game days and be like, yep.
We're looking forward to a great season coming up. Amber, to you and your student athletes, just all the best.
Thank you so much.
Amber Fugelberg with us as we at the Buffalo Wild Wings, and we're meeting the Spud coaches and players here tonight for the upcoming season. When we come back, we'll talk cross country with Isaac Lundberg and Eric Hansen.
Don't work out where you won't work out. Blueprint Personal Training. At Blueprint, you'll work directly with an experienced personal trainer and nutrition coach in our brand new private gym. Tell us about your fitness goals, and we'll provide the personalized workouts and motivation to get the results you want to see. Training, nutrition, accountability. Blueprint Personal Training. BlueprintFargo.com.
We are The Breakdown. For almost 2 decades, we've published the most comprehensive yearbooks on Minnesota high school sports and run the best in-season and off-season events. We cover every corner of the state. We are The Breakdown.
Before I became a real boy, life was easy. I just sat there doing sandwich stuff. But being alive is so hard. So if you don't want to get up to get a sandwich, you shouldn't have to.
Welcome back to Buffalo Wild Wings in Moorhead as we meet the Moorhead coaches for the upcoming fall season. Our thanks to Amber Fugelberg and her team for joining us to kick off the evening here today. Coming up next, Moorhead's cross-country team with head coach Isaac Lundberg and assistant coach Eric Hansen. Some names that in Moorhead cross-country mean a lot. That is so well documented that the success that Moorhead's teams have had in cross-country comes right back to you two, Isaac Lundberg and Eric Hansen. And so we welcome you aboard, and we're looking forward to finding out more about how your team will respond to the schedule that you've got set up. And let's first start out with Isaac Lundberg. We kind of give you the handle of being the head coach, am I right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Or should I ask and then go from there?
So I would tell you, Larry, that yes, I'm the head coach in name, but Coach Hansen and I do do pretty much everything together in terms of head coaching type of responsibilities. I certainly appreciate your intro and your compliments. I would say that in our world, like we go back to Coach Dewar as someone who is our high school cross country coach, and I think
talk about a legend.
Yeah, and established a tradition that Coach Blake carried on, and I think we're just honored to kind of hopefully carry that torch forward in a way that honors really what they put in place. So
how much is put into that type of thinking when you talk to your runners?
Can you rephrase that for me, Larry?
I wish I could. No. How much of what you just said can be brought to today's players from what you've done?
Yeah, I hope that they take a lot of pride in being part of something that we think has been a really cool thing for a lot of years. I think we try to remind them of that there is a lot of tradition in Spuds cross country, and that they have the opportunity to be part of that as well. I certainly hope they take pride in that. I think they do. And that's exciting for us to be able to be alumni who can carry some of that forward.
And Eric Hansen joins you as the duo of the coaching staff. And when we take a look at how you prepared and how you performed, what are some of the things that still come to your mind on the success that you had?
Yeah, so going back to with Coach Dewar as my coach in high school, I think kind of the standard of excellence, but more so like doing your best. And I think something that I maybe took for granted when I was in high school, and I really wish I would have enjoyed more then, but I appreciate now, is like how good our teams were from our first person to our 30th person, and how much our coach cared about all of those people, and also how much each of those people pushing each other really made a big difference. And that's something that as I went to college and talked to teammates that maybe came from smaller programs, different programs, I realized how fortunate we were to be in that type of environment for 4 years at Moorhead High School.
Tell us a little bit about what is so important about creating a good cross-country performance.
Yeah, like a lot of sports, cross-country it's a numbers game to a certain extent, right? And also it's a quality numbers game. And we've been fortunate the last couple of years on the girls' side. We've been in the top tier of our section the last 3 years, being third in our section. On the boys' side, we were fortunate enough to qualify for the state meet last year. And it's not just those groups of kids and their success, it's the people that are pushing them behind, whether they're on the JV, but also the kids that are coming up the next few years that are chasing down those spots and are being motivated and inspired by the upcoming generation. Because in cross country, it's really easy to measure yourself against other people because there's always a time, and it's also really easy to measure yourself against yourself because there's a time, there's a place, and when you have great role models next to you every day, things tend to go really well.
And so with that in mind, Isaac, you take a look at how the teams perform and how they get ready. What is the key part of preparation and getting ready for a meet?
So, Larry, I'm actually going to pivot and send it back to Coach Hansen because that's a lot of the work that he does for our team. So I'm going to send it right back to him.
And it'll come back to you.
So we call that delegation, Larry. That's a skill right there. So, as far as preparing for a cross-country meet, it's not something you get prepared for in 5 days, right? There's not a scouting report like maybe there is for a football game. But like a lot of sports, it's what have you done the previous months, going back to our summertime. And we did our time trial event last week. On Tuesday, we had all of our high schoolers run a mile, just kind of seeing where their fitness level is at. And a lot of them did really well, a lot better than they did the year before. Some of them ran the fastest mile they ever had, even compared to track season. And that shows they put in the work this summer, right? It's easier to build gradually and steadily over the course of months and years than to try to find magic in a couple days or a couple weeks through some trick that a coach can do. So fortunately, we had a lot of people that did good work this summer and have us in a good spot.
People that have grown up in the Fargo-Moorhead area are not unfamiliar with runners. During the summer months especially, we see runners at every crossing and every street as they get ready, either for fun and I can't imagine, and I still have a hard time understanding how running like what cross-country runners do is fun, but I give it back to you.
Well, Larry, I think there's a lot of what our kids enjoy about running is being able to do something that's difficult but do it together. And I think we see that in in our numbers that we have. We see that in the numbers of kids that show up in the summer. I think we had nearly 200 or so kids from about age 2 up through some alumni racing the other night at our time trial event. And I think, like, it's great for our kids to see people around town. The Fargo Marathon event, right, is a great thing for the community. For them to see other people out running. We hear from people all the time who see us and our kids out on the roads, and it's kind of a cool way to represent the hard work that our kids do kind of out in the community.
Regardless of the sport that's involved, it seems that if you are going to have success continued, there is a lot of cooperation between each of the team members to go along with the coaches. They buy into what the coaches are saying, and that puts the stress on you as well to make sure that you understand and explain to them what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and cross country is kind of interesting in the sense that there's an individual component to it, right, alongside the team component, kind of like track and field in the same sense, right? So our kids have a certain amount of individual ownership over their performance, but there's a lot of accountability within the group in terms of being better for one another. And that's something that I think our kids take a lot of pride in, is being really great teammates, and something that we try to really emphasize. And kind of like Coach Hansen mentioned earlier, whether we only get to race 7 kids in a varsity race, but we've got 40 plus on both sides, which means we've got 20, 30 some kids who are not varsity competitors for us right now, but they can still contribute to our team in a really meaningful way. So we try to emphasize that with them. One kid pushing the next kid is something that's important for our team, and an exciting way to be a part of it.
This time of year means cross country is about ready to get underway, and we'd like to say thank you to you for your performance over the years as participants and now as coaches to make sure that the legacy continues. First meet, when does that come?
Yeah, first meet is this Saturday for us. We're going to Perham.
Okay.
They have an awesome meet that honors a runner from Perham who passed away. And it's a great event. They got a lot of teams coming. They got so big they had to split it into multiple races, big schools, little schools. So we're excited about that.
Tells you there's an interest in it, and it will continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our thank you to Isaac Lundberg and to Eric Hansen for being with us, Moorhead Cross Country coaches. We'll be back with more from Buffalo Wild Wings after this.
Natural talent, physical gifts, training advantages. To become a champion, none of that matters. True champions are the ones who are comfortable working harder, staying later, and finding that competitive edge. They are never satisfied simply doing a good job, because those who transform themselves from local talent into local folklore are the ones who continually perform beyond their limits. Bell Bank, proudly supporting champions everywhere.
Northwest Blinds is a proud supporter of all Moorhead Spuds activities. For over 30 years, we've been providing customers with a wide assortment of window covering choices. Owners Arlen and Carla Swenson are available by appointment for a free in-home consultation on all your window covering needs. Call us at 218-236-4813 or find us on the web at nwblinds.com. At Northwest Blinds, we say, you'll wish you had more windows, and go Spuds.
Pam is a small business owner. She is swamped. Pam knows she needs to advertise but is overwhelmed by all the options. Meet Avenue Right. Save time, money, and get peace of mind that your advertising dollars are well spent.
Boss DXT snowplows are tough to beat. Featuring dual trip tech, flared wings, and optional D-force for improved scraping and backdragging performance. Choose from 3 different sizes in steel, stainless steel, and poly. The Boss DXT is built to restore order.
Your home for Boss snowplows is Bert's Truck Equipment on Highway 75 North in Moorhead.
Buffalo Wild Wings is the host tonight of a chance to meet the Moorhead High School coaching staffs that participate in fall activities. We have heard from Amber Fugelberg, the volleyball coach, and cross-country coaches Isaac Lundberg and Craig Hansen. And now what makes all of these players quicker and better is strength and conditioning. And Chris Musselman, welcome aboard.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you having me.
It's interesting to see, as we have heard over different meetings, how impactful strength and conditioning have taken a hold of the young people and making it something they really strive for.
Yeah, I mean, this is the beginning of the 3rd year. I just finished my 3rd summer. So, you know, kids are doing a good job investing in themselves, investing in their programs by sacrificing their time, sacrificing their efforts, and we're starting to really see like the results kind of manifest. The rewards are coming. Every penny they're putting in the jar, every day that they do the work, we're actually starting to see our KPIs, our key performance indicators, our assessments in terms of speed and jumping and strength. Our numbers are climbing across the board. And the major thing is that we have so many kids in the program that it's not just the top people that are producing top numbers, it's that the middle is really growing. And so that's where we're going to hang our hat on competitive or future competitive results, is growing that middle and getting everyone's baseline to be up here and really start to see those results are starting to happen all over the place and throughout all the programs.
When you see the development of strength and conditioning, it goes from just being able to lift something heavy to say, I can do this better than you can.
Sure. You know, it takes a while to get kids to understand, like, moving, like an exercise selection, a movement per se, an exercise. It's no different than a drill within their sport. They have to master that movement. When they get better and better at it, not only are they going to do that movement faster and more explosively, they're going to obviously be able to add more weight. And so that the confidence builds, then their proficiency builds, and the next thing you know, it's like you put those two things together and we start having more competitive results, especially when, like you say, everybody in a program is training at a high level, everybody in the school is training at a high level, not just a few select.
What is it about lifting and weight, part of this program that we're talking about, makes it happen? What is it in our bodies that develops the strength and the quickness?
Well, that's a genetic question, to be honest, because everybody has a different baseline and a different max effort or max level of results. You know, everyone's different. But in terms of what we focus on athletic development. So we're going to work all the planes of movement: frontal, sagittal, transverse planes. We're going to work many different movement patterns. We're going to work I hate the term conditioning, because really conditioning is specific to the demand of a sport, and we're not training them to be conditioned within the demand of their sport. They're going to get that in practice, but we're going to get kids to work at a very high level, both not only on the strength front, but also just in terms of efficiency. If you can move your body very efficiently, your confidence level goes up, you're going to do everything faster. Any sport you play, if you play it slow, you're not going to be very good at it. So if you can master your body movement, and then in terms of relative strength, because that's your body weight, and then also add some additional resistance in all the planes, and you do it with great efficiency, the next thing you know, like when you play sport, you're confident, you're playing it fast, and it just looks like our kids might look like other kids, but they're going to move in a manner in which is just a little bit faster, a little bit better, more under control, and recover quicker. And then, like I said, the next thing you know is competitive results start to manifest.
Is this something that the student themselves can recognize and work with, or does it require the use of someone like a coach?
So a couple things. Within the class period, our first year in classes, we saw 290 kids within the school day. Last year, we saw 590 kids within the school day.
Numbers are remarkable.
This year, we have over 700 kids, and we had to turn some kids down because we're out of space. So, and that's just at the high school. Last year, we started the athletic development program in the school hours for the 8th grade kids, and they were training 2 days a week in the 8th grade through the PE department, so the 5 PE coaches over there. We saw 290 kids of the 600 kids that were 8th graders. This year, we're going to see 300 kids of the 510 kids that are 8th graders. So 300 at the middle school that are 8th grade, over 700 at the high school, 1,000 kids a week are training and becoming better spuds. And for me, it's just awesome to know that like we're really building a community and a culture of athletic development.
Now that answers part of my question, is that it is important to have a coach kind of to move things along and move it in the right direction.
But I don't do it by myself. It's like I said, last year I had 5 PE coaches, all the PE coaches at Horizon Middle School. They work my program. I go and visit, so I support them. And the administration over there rolling out a new program within their PE department. And at the high school, I work with 4 of the high school coaches that are PE coaches in there. So there's a total of 9 PE coaches and myself that are working with all these kids throughout the day. So it takes an army. I mean, like it's a big endeavor between having the support of administration, counselors, head coaches of all the programs, as well as PE coaches at both the schools. This is not like a one-man show. This is like a really big thing to be able to service these kids of great value within our community.
And when we take a look at what results, and that is that in our culture this time around, you got to beat somebody. Yeah, it's got to be better than somebody else again. How does that work into this program?
So I would like to say that because we focus on athletic development, we don't focus on strength training like Olympic lifting, strength training like powerlifting, or body composition work like bodybuilding. We focus on athletic development. It's not intimidating. People have their starting points, and as they see their starting points, and we assess broad jumps, high jumps, 40 times, shuttle times, their bench press, their squats, their deadlifts. We're assessing their chin-ups. We're assessing these things all the time. And they're seeing our strength movements we only assess at the end of every high school season. So really that's every 12 weeks. But our body weight movements, broad jump, vertical jump, shuttles, 40s, and neutral grip chin-ups, we assess every single week. So they see the progression, and they see like, hey, if I put in the work, I'm going to get the reward. If your level of intention and your level of consistency is spotty, maybe the rewards aren't going to manifest. But our community and our kids are very hard workers. They're very committed to their programs, to each other, and to their school. And when you create that kind of culture, people feel obligated to make sure they don't let the next person down next to them, that they feel obligated that they're working hard for their coaches and their program. And the next thing you know, it's like if the level of intention is high and the level of consistency is high, results just happen. I mean, that's kind of the secret of this training population. I mean, these kids are 14 to 18 years old. If they're just consistent at doing something, whether it's reading, whether it's math, whether it's anything at all, they're going to get better at it.
And so with that in mind, it also brings us to the point of, you know what, we have talked about this a little bit about being better than the person next to you or the community of another town.
Sure.
We're better than that. Also, are we better than the nation?
So
we get involved in that.
I keep those kind of stats, but those aren't things that I need to share with the kids because the only thing we control is your personal growth. It doesn't matter what somebody next to you can do because you can only control your growth. And that's all we focus on as an individual. Here's your baseline. You need to focus on you growing. If everybody in the room is committed to growing, then the aggregate growth that we have with everyone together is going to be something that's pretty powerful when they're all together. I don't need to compare them to other towns. We'll do that when we play them. I don't need to compare them to other people because it's too much information. They don't need it. The reality of it is they need to know, are they growing? Because that's the only thing they can control anyway. Comparing yourself to others puts you in a negative situation. Some people can handle that, and some people don't like it, and they actually shy away from it. So everything that I do, I try to create an environment that's not intimidating, an environment that the kids value, and if they are consistent and they're intentional, they're going to grow.
Did you foresee this kind of explosion? I want to use that word to describe what you have and your kids have accomplished in the last few years. Are you pleased with the progress and the direction it's been taking?
We're about 75% into my overall vision for the community and for the schools. I think this year we might be about a little bit over 80% of what's in my head based on what I've done at 2 other schools within the Arizona market. So at 17 years ago, I was open to high school. I was there 7 years. Then I got recruited to open another high school in Arizona. I was there 7 years. And then I got recruited to come to Moorhead, and now that I'm going on my 3rd year here.
So we got 4 more years then.
At least 4 more years, yeah, at least 4 more years. But I mean, right now, if we can get to that 80% mark, look, it's like anything you do in school. You can go from a 50%, which is basically failing in a going by a percentage rate. You can go from 50% to 80% relatively quickly. You can, and that's what we've done in a little over 2 years. But now, once we get to 80%, the hard part is, can we get those remaining 20% that are still out there? So it goes into belief systems. Kids have to believe that we can. They have to believe that there is no ceiling for them. So we're working on many more things than just training. A lot of this stuff is what's in your head and what's in your heart, and belief systems that you have for yourself and for others around you, and that's a big part of it.
We've heard kids, students from your program come to meetings and talk about the enjoyment they have and what difference it has made in their growth. Invariably, it means a very high level of the students are getting better, not only strength-wise, but more for themselves. They believe in themselves. The confidence is there.
It's a big thing because I take this platform of strength and conditioning and the passions of that kids have to play sports, and I kind of use that to teach them about life. We talk about championship habits and behaviors, and it's not just championships on the field, it's championships off the field. And these habits and behaviors that we're looking to help kids develop within themselves, they're going to carry long beyond their competitive days. And that's kind of a big deal. So once we can kind of build kids up using the platform of strength and conditioning, it's going to go a long way. And I have to create a value system that's beyond lifting weights, because everybody thinks that's what we do. If it was just lifting weights, we wouldn't have this many kids that want to do it. It's way more than that.
And so we would like to say congratulations on the work that you've done and the success that you've enjoyed. And we would like to wish you all the best in the upcoming.
Thank you. It's a great community. I appreciate the opportunity.
Chris Musselman with us from Moorhead's Strength and Conditioning Program. As we say thank you for that, we would like to say that we'll be back with more from Buffalo Wild Wings after this timeout.
Don't work out where you won't work out. Blueprint Personal Training. At Blueprint, you'll work directly with an experienced personal trainer and nutrition coach in our brand new private gym. Tell us about your fitness goals, and we'll provide the personalized workouts and motivation to get the results you want to see. Training, nutrition, accountability. Blueprint Personal Training. BlueprintFargo.com.
We are The Breakdown. For almost 2 decades, we've published the most comprehensive yearbooks on Minnesota high school sports and run the best in-season and off-season events. We cover every corner of the state. We are The Breakdown.
Before I became a real boy, life was easy. I just sat there doing sandwich stuff. But being alive is so hard. So if you don't want to get up to get a sandwich, you shouldn't have to.
Natural talent, physical gifts, training advantages. To become a champion, none of that matters. True champions are the ones who are comfortable working harder, staying later, and finding that competitive edge. They are never satisfied simply doing a good job, because those who transform themselves from local talent into local folklore are the ones who continually perform beyond their limits. Bell Bank, proudly supporting champions everywhere.
Northwest Blinds is a proud supporter of all Moorhead Spuds activities. For over 30 years, we've been providing customers with a wide assortment of window covering choices. Owners Arlen and Carla Swenson are available by appointment for a free in-home consultation on all your window covering needs. Call us at 218-236-4813 or find us on the web at nwblinds.com. At Northwest Blinds, we say, you'll wish you had more windows, and go Spuds.
Welcome back to Buffalo Wild Wings as we continue our visit with the Moorhead coaches for this upcoming fall season. We've talked with Amber Fiegelberg from the volleyball team, Isaac Lundberg and Eric Hansen from cross country, and most recently the strength and conditioning coach, Chris Musselman. And that brings us up to boys soccer and Ben Patry. And we know that full well that the soccer is a team sport that, well, you get bit by it once, you're in it for the long haul.
For sure, for sure.
What do you think about some of the things that we have seen in the advancement of soccer in recent years?
Well, I think it's just a natural proponent of the advancement of coaches, right? We've had, when I was a kid, we didn't have coaches who'd played much, right? You know, as a kind of growing up in Bismarck, we had, the sort of a first-generation coach. Maybe they hadn't even played the game, right? And now we've got kids who've come up, who've had the opportunity to train at pretty high levels, and they're bringing that knowledge. So I think that it only makes sense as the game gets older in the country that it becomes a lot more quality, and I think that's what we're seeing.
What are the elements that go into that makeup?
Of a quality coach or of a quality player?
Well, both.
Well, I mean, I think on the player front, soccer is both a skill game and an endurance game. Athleticism across the board is obviously very useful. You know, speed is probably the number one component of athleticism that we try to build, but obviously endurance and the ability to have that engine to go 80 minutes, especially if you got a thin squad. I think from a coaching standpoint, I don't think coaching soccer is a lot different than coaching any other sport. It's a team game. maybe one difference from, say, a more structured sort of coach-oriented game is that it's pretty free-flowing, and each player has to be a decision-maker on the field. You can't just run a route, for instance. You can't just make one particular move and then that's it. And you've got to adapt to what the game gives you. And I think, like basketball and some of those other sports, being able to teach players to be thinkers on the field and to be people who can think on their feet is really important.
As we take a look at the development of soccer in the United States, we can't help but still think that the influence on the sport has been held and is still being held in a very high way about that game played in Europe. And that's, well, they call it football, but
Well, that's true. I mean, I think it's where it originated, and then it spread across the world. I think the big, British imperialism was big, right? I mean, they shared a lot of things with the world, but they took the game with them, and that's why it became really so much the world's game. I think it continues to be sort of a central place for the sport, but that's just, a lot of history there. You have professional teams that are hundreds of years old, and that history isn't something you can just buy and sell. And so I think it's a difficult commodity to move, and but the fandom is growing here in the United States, growing across the world, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon.
How much of this can be attributed to the English influence in your coaching abilities and in your coaching strategy? What goes into it from that?
Well, I don't know if I have any particular English influences in my coaching strategies. I mean, I think I did have a British coach briefly when I was a club soccer player back in Bismarck, but I think it probably has as much to do with just watching the game and seeing it played over in Europe and at the highest levels across the world, and picking up what coaches are using with the internet and its availability. There's all kinds of a wealth of knowledge that can be accessed that way.
The internet, again, has its way of working its way into just about everything we do.
It's true, 100%. 100%.
Are there some of these ideas that you can recognize in your coaching?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I think just from a tactical standpoint, just the way that you set teams up, I think there's sort of the flavor of the week when it comes to that, right? And the popularity of certain systems, and the way that you set up the number of players in midfield or in the back line or up front, those kind of come and go. What sort of, what's in the style comes and goes. I think to a large extent to what's being played in Europe, what people are watching, and what people are using those models then to set up their own teams. And it's what the young kids would train. When I was growing up, it was 4-4-2. That's all anyone ever played, and now there's a whole lot of different tactical setups that followed.
All for the better, I presume.
I think for the most part, yeah. I think for the most part, absolutely.
If there was something that you'd like to see about kids coming out, students that are coming out for your sport, what would you like to see them bring to the field?
We'd like to see kids with a good technical base. I mean, I think that's first and foremost ball control, and we're seeing that coming up. We've got 41 7th and 8th graders that came out this year, and it's almost half of our entire program in just those two grades. We've been really fortunate to have that many young kids come out, and a lot of them have that good technical base. They've been playing club soccer, and they've had opportunities to play and develop with a coach at a young age rather than coming in later. So I think that's a big piece, is really just having that technical base where you can teach them then more tactical understandings of the game and how we move as a unit. It's much easier if you can pass the ball and receive it.
We heard from the other coaches prior to your visit here tonight about how important it is to teach the game as a team and being able to correspond and make things, because you do this will happen over here. And if that happens, then this will happen here. And we've got a good team.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something we try to stress, that within your ability on the ball, all of your decisions affect the game tactically. One of the big challenges is teaching players to play without the ball, and there's only one of them, and there's 11 guys on each team. The average player in a soccer game has the ball for around a minute, and so you're doing a lot of work without the ball. And we play 80 minutes. The professionals, they play 90, but we're doing the most of our game without the ball. So it's really about what you do when you don't have it that really defines a player.
You like the way that your team has developed?
Yeah, I mean, so this year we have a pretty young team again. Last year we were, we had kind of a low point in terms of our results on the field, but we kind of knew losing some really, really important players, and some that we didn't plan on losing, some to injury and some to moving, and so last year was a bit of a blip, and we're trying to come back from that. But I think we've got some real quality coming up, especially in our younger classes. We're going to start a couple of sophomores and potentially a freshman. Last year we started 2 freshmen, so we've got some young players coming in, and I like the way that they're developing. Their technical quality is good. Now it's about really making this team click, and that's my job.
It seems when you take a look at the scheduling that Moorhead is forced to have because of its location, you got to think about putting the schedule together and playing teams that you can be compared to or that you can be competitive with, and that means going to the cities.
Yep, we get plenty of trips. We get plenty of 2.5 hour, 3.5 hour plus trips. We head to Duluth sometimes, and this year's no different. We play 7 home games and 9 away, and we're going to the cities a few times, and to Bemidji and places like that.
Do you have a team that is considered a rival?
I mean, I think our closest. Years ago I'd have probably said Bemidji because we played them twice every year, and I think there's a kind of a history of rivalry between our schools and the football front.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
100%. And so Bemidji, I would absolutely say. But recently for us, St. Michael Albertville, they knocked us out of the section tournament last year and the year before, and we beat them in the section final the year before that. And so we've been kind of right up there competing for the top with them, and we hope to continue that rivalry.
Yeah, even though you say that you have a young team and in the works here, how do you think they'll fit into your schedule?
How do I think St. Michael will?
No, how Moorhead into the schedule that you've got.
How will our young guys fit in?
Yes.
I mean, I think they're going to handle it as well as we've handled it in the past. I don't think our youngsters will struggle with that too much. I mean, I think they're happy to get on the bus and go on those road trips. That's a highlight for a lot of these guys. They get a chance to get out and play some of the best teams and get some traveling in with their friends. I don't think it gets better. Your first match coming up? Yep. We play Grand Rapids on Thursday, and then we play again at home against Delano the next night. And that gets things underway in a big way, and you're off and running. Absolutely. Back to back right off the bat. Our thanks to Ben Patry for being with us tonight from Buffalo Wild Wings as we bring you the Spud Coaches as we take a look at the upcoming season. We'll be back and visit with Josh Krieg from the girls' side of soccer after this timeout.
Pam is a small business owner. She is swamped. Pam knows she needs to advertise but is overwhelmed by all the options. Meet Avenue Right. Save time, money, and get peace of mind that your advertising dollars are well spent.
Boss DXT snowplows are tough to beat. Featuring dual trip tech, flared wings, and optional D-force for improved scraping and backdragging performance. Choose from 3 different sizes in steel, stainless steel, and poly. The Boss DXT is built to restore order.
Your home for Boss snowplows is Bert's Truck Equipment on Highway 75 North in Moorhead.
Don't work out where you won't work out. Blueprint Personal Training. At Blueprint, you'll work directly with an experienced personal trainer and nutrition coach in our brand new private gym. Tell us about your fitness goals, and we'll provide the personalized workouts and motivation to get the results you want to see. Training, nutrition, accountability. Blueprint Personal Training. BlueprintFargo.com.
We are The Breakdown. For almost 2 decades, we've published the most comprehensive yearbooks on Minnesota high school sports and run the best in-season and off-season events. We cover every corner of the state. We are The Breakdown.
Before I became a real boy, life was easy. I just sat there doing sandwich stuff. But being alive is so hard. So if you don't want to get up to get a sandwich, you shouldn't have to.
Continue with a look at Spud Sports for this upcoming season. And Josh Krieg joins us from the girls soccer team, a team that has had some ups and downs over the course of its history, but generally, all in all, a good, solid program.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. The girls program's looking extremely exciting right now. This is my second year in with pretty much a full returning staff, and girls are excited. We ran some summer camps. The camps went very well, were well attended. Girls were out on other nights throughout the summer, working hard on their own, taking shots, and every time I'd see them, they had smiles on their face.
It's something that people ask me once in a while, some of the changes that have occurred in the time that we've been involved with athletics. And one of the biggest changes is the ability to have a camp and get involved and be a part of the teaching process in that way.
Yeah, so last year I ran a camp. I got hired back in March of 23, or May of 23, sorry, and camped in. It took a while to get stuff going, and other plans have already been made. So I didn't have as much attendance, but this year I had 100% attendance for my essentially my varsity and my JV programs, and that just reinforces the stuff that we're working through for the 6-8 week season that we have, and getting them ready for it. So now they know what the coach's expectations are, and how we like to do things, and how we're going to get to the end game of some goals that we've established.
And it, of course, all comes down to the ability of the players, the student athletes, to accept those rules, accept the way that things are done, and make it work.
Yeah, so last year was a little tough. We started the year off, and we played most of our year without a goalie, putting players in that don't want to be there. And towards the end, we found some goalies to play the spot, and now we got those goalies for this year. I think we're starting off good this year with injuries. Last year, we went into the season, and I think the first game we had 5 girls sitting on the bench on the first game injured already. So I think we're coming out strong, and girls are ready to go. They're excited. I got 58 girls on the rosters this year between the 3 teams, and they're all excited, and they're all working together.
You touched on another item that is of concern, of course, is injuries. And how do you adjust to that? How do you get the players back on track again? And how do you keep them going?
Well, each injury is different. Each player is different. And we work with the athletic staff and training staff and try and find a source for these injuries and try and get them rehabbing. Last year we had a girl that was a very key player that was injured, and we sat her much to her dislike, and because we wanted her at the end of the year. At the end of the year, she was there, 100% ready to roll. And I've learned over the years, you take care of your athletes, and they'll be there when you need them at the end.
When you take a look at your roster, when you see that you don't have a goalie, that to me would cause some concern. I would think as you get ready for the season. But what caused the players to come forward and step up and do there?
I don't know if they really volunteered or if they were voluntold. We had a couple girls that I've coached many years in their youth days, back when they were 5-6 years old, and I know some of them very well. And I kind of, one of them is my daughter, and I kind of just make her do it. And
she listens to you?
She does. She did with some biting her lip, I guess I would say. Yeah. She was a little didn't want to do it, and it's tough then because you're taking good field players off the field when you're trying to makeshift a position that nobody really wants to do because they're not trained to do it. And goalie's the worst position because every mistake a goalie feels they make shows up on the scoreboard, and that's the last thing you want is to start beating up your field players that are playing goalie for you. And but at the end of the year, the girls rallied around the girls we brought in to play goalie, and we ended the year very strong.
What type of game plan do you like to employ?
I like to use the whole field. I like to use the whole width of the field. I like to be typically when I came in and I watched the girls the first couple times, they like to play the 30-yard game, just playing right up the middle, back and forth. Our field's 62, 63 yards wide here at Moorhead. I want to use 60 yards of that. I want it wide. I want balls out wide. We get the balls to move out wide. The other team's chasing. We're moving the balls. They're chasing. We're not as tired as they are at the end of the game.
Who are some of the teams that you have to beat that give you the most concern?
Well, STMA was first in our section last year, and we played them pretty hard, and we got compliments from their coach on the difference of the new program and what it looks like. So Buffalo last year knocked us out. We went in as a 7 seed. They were the 2 seed. Buffalo knocked us out. So I think that would be probably the one that we'd like to knock them out and give them a little bit of their own taste.
Let's take a look at your schedule. Who's first and when?
Next Thursday on the 22nd, we have Minnetonka at home. It's a 3 o'clock varsity game, 1 o'clock JV game. And then Saturday, the 24th, Osseo comes to town for just a varsity-only match. And then the following Tuesday, Brainerd is in town. So we start off with 3 home games this year, which is a big change from last year. Last year we had 6 home games the whole year, and 11 away games counting our section game. And so we put a lot of miles on last year, and it was wearing on the girls with beating them up with lack of sleep and all the travel. I think we're better off this year with being at home a little more, sleeping in our own beds at decent times.
Sounds like you've got a good idea for the upcoming year.
Yeah, and one of the changes I made was in the past, JV2 would be, once that teams were made, JV2 would be sent over to Horizon and kind of on their own for the rest of the year. But last year I implemented that. I want all three of my teams practicing all together at the same time. And it gets to be somewhat tight every once in a while, but we make it work. And it's a great way for me to be able to look at my players, look at my feeder program, and see how they're doing down there, and also be teaching them the same things that I want to see them doing in a year or two down the road. So that was well taken last year, and the girls really enjoyed being part of the big program. So we got 7th graders that are watching the juniors and seniors play varsity, and they're there at practice with them there, and they're getting to know them. So that was a key change that I think is going to pay dividends here as we move on.
On behalf of Spuds TV, we wish you and the Spud girls soccer team just a lot of success in this upcoming year.
Thanks, Larry.
We look forward to seeing how the Spuds soccer team does. Josh Krieg, appreciate your time. We'll be back with more after this timeout.
Natural talent, physical gifts, training advantages. To become a champion, none of that matters. True champions are the ones who are comfortable working harder, staying later, and finding that competitive edge. They are never satisfied simply doing a good job, because those who transform themselves from local talent into local folklore are the ones who continually perform beyond their limits. Bell Bank, proudly supporting champions everywhere.
Northwest Blinds is a proud supporter of all Moorhead Spuds activities. For over 30 years, we've been providing customers with a wide assortment of window covering choices. Owners Arlen and Carla Swenson are available by appointment for a free in-home consultation on all your window covering needs. Call us at 218-236-4813 or find us on the web at nwblinds.com. At Northwest Blinds, we say, you'll wish you had more windows, and go Spuds.
Pam is a small business owner. She is swamped. Pam knows she needs to advertise, but is overwhelmed by all the options. Meet Avenue Right. Save time, money, and get peace of mind that your advertising dollars are well spent.
Our thanks to Josh Krieg for joining us and talking about girls soccer. And our program continues from Buffalo Wild Wings as we visit the upcoming sports season at Moorhead High. Coming up next, Before too much time goes by, we'll be talking about the girls' tennis with Brett Hartwig. But before we go there, Scott Verkulen is with us, and along with Superintendent Brandon Lunick, some very important things happen with what you, Scott, do in order to make things, the student athlete involved. And in order for that to happen, of course, you have to have the support of the administration and all that goes into getting things settled and in place. So, and that means Brandon Lunick. And there was a good reason we had for bringing you on board here tonight, and we're about to find out what that is.
Yeah, so we're here to kind of talk about the new high school. This is officially the first year that we're opening it up. Last year we transitioned into it. This will be the first year that we're actually opening it up. And this morning we had our staff in the gym, and I couldn't help but think when I saw Scott here at the Buffalo Wild Wings eating, wanted to bring him on and wanted to publicly thank him once again for his contribution to our weight room. If nobody knows or remembers, a few years back, Scotty was battling cancer, and with his Make-A-Wish Foundation, he donated his Make-A-Wish wish to our high school to help us get the weight room started. And when you walk through that weight room, you can't help but think of Scott, because it's Scott's donation that's written all over that facility, and all the equipment that we have in there is courtesy of Scott. So I just wanted to take tonight again to thank Scott for his contribution and his donation. And since that day, I just can't help but feel an overwhelming sense of pride, because Scott is everything that this community is about in terms of putting somebody else in front of your needs, and that's what Moorhead is, and Scott's epitome of that. So I think it's a good time here to again honor Scott, and being in that gym today, walking by that weight room again, and then seeing him tonight just brought back all the things that Scott did to help us get that started.
What element of the that we're talking about here made you decide to be so generous with your with what you did?
Oh, at the time, Make-A-Wish had told me that I had any and all options at my disposal, and I remember looking at my parents and just thinking, we didn't need anything, and we molded over, and the weight room just felt, I had spent so much time there and had received so much benefit, and I knew that if I had decided and followed through with what we did, that it would carry through and help so many more others.
And it seems to me like this line of thinking is taking hold all the way around, not only the Fargo-Moorhead and area surrounding us, but those states that are involved, those countries that are involved. People are learning that it's okay to put the other person first.
Oh, absolutely. The goal is to always show someone that you're just a person, and you can always try to start helping others as soon as possible. The goal is to just be an outstanding person throughout my whole life. We should try to be better people all around to others as well.
Have you seen any direct results of what you have done?
Well, I know that my little sister, she's in the high school right now, and I know when she walks into that weight room, she feels something, and all of her friends are thankful, and I know it's cool. I think even just that, and I know that the coaches, and more importantly during COVID, when they had to separate everything out so much, at the time Moorhead had twice the weight equipment than they would have had, and so they were able to do so much more during those hard few years because they had all the extra equipment. And I remember Kevin Feeney shaking my hand and saying thank you, along with all the other coaches. So.
Well, it's no secret that when you take a look at the success that the Moorhead athletic programs have been able to employ, it comes directly back to what we saw earlier from Chris Musselman's strength and conditioning, and you with weightlifting and all of the good that is felt from one person to another?
Yeah, it just makes me happy. I went in. It's all good. I went in and I know that the weight room serves its purpose and it does it well. And I'm happy that we have the faculty there in order to use it right and use it the way it's fully intended for its best purposes. I'm just ecstatic that it's there and it played out the way it did.
How do you see the future in regards to this?
I just hope that more people get in and through the room, and that they find it as helpful as it was for me during my time of struggle and every day afterwards.
And so on behalf of Brandon Lunick, the superintendent of schools, and his continued vision of using what has been given, we thank you for what you have done for the community of Moorhead Schools and for our community in general.
Oh, and it would not have been possible without his help and support.
So
I'm
we
grateful to
appreciate
him
that.
as well.
We appreciate that. Tonight we're at Buffalo Wild Wings. We've got the Moorhead coaching staff from the fall seasons on board, and we have just heard from Scott Verkulen and Superintendent Brendan Lunick as we talk about the input that they have had on Spud Sports. We'll be back with more as we continue from Buffalo Wild Wings after this.
Boss DXT snowplows are tough to beat. Featuring dual trip tech, flared wings, and optional D-force for improved scraping and backdragging performance. Choose from 3 different sizes in steel, stainless steel, and poly. The Boss DXT is built to restore order.
Your home for Boss snowplows is Bert's Truck Equipment on Highway 75 North in Moorhead.
Don't work out where you won't work out. Blueprint Personal Training. At Blueprint, you'll work directly with an experienced personal trainer and nutrition coach in our brand new private gym. Tell us about your fitness goals, and we'll provide the personalized workouts and motivation to get the results you want to see. Training, nutrition, accountability. Blueprint Personal Training. BlueprintFargo.com.
We are The Breakdown. For almost 2 decades, we've published the most comprehensive yearbooks on Minnesota high school sports and run the best in-season and off-season events. We cover every corner of the state. We are The Breakdown.
Before I became a real boy, life was easy. I just sat there doing sandwich stuff. But being alive is so hard. So if you don't want to get up to get a sandwich, you shouldn't have to.
Welcome back to Buffalo Wild Wings as we continue our visit with Moorhead fall coaching staffs. We've started the evening with a visit from Amber Fiegelberg, and then came cross-country coaches Isaac Lundberg and Eric Hansen, strength and conditioning from Chris Musselman, boys soccer, Ben Patrick, girls soccer from Josh Krieg, and now it's girls tennis as Brett Hartwig joins us and talk a little bit about all the good things that go out on the tennis court.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we're excited. We have a young team. We lost 10 of our 16 varsity girls last year, and so we have 37 girls out for tennis. And so with the middle school program, there's another 20 to 25 that'll be coming up. So it's exciting to kind of see tennis growing in Moorhead. Yeah, we have quite a few matches this week. We head down to Wadena and Staples tomorrow for a tournament with 8 other teams. Then we have a match in Detroit Lakes against another section team on Wednesday. Have practice on Thursday. And then Fergus Falls, another section team, comes home along with Morris. And then Saturday we head to Crookston for another tournament. So
you've got a busy schedule.
We got a busy schedule. And we try and get a good amount of matches kind of before school starts, so we can kind of let the girls have good time with school and kind of balance that and stuff, especially with a young team, to try and get used to high school life and then balancing that with academics and stuff. So
yeah, how do you go about doing something like that with a student that is really, really quite young?
Yeah, we have a good amount of upperclassmen that have kind of worked with those girls and kind of show them the ropes of what it's like to do high school athletics. And so I'm a pastor, but was a former teacher. And so, my thing is always you're a student athlete. And so to make sure that they're keeping up with their studies, and, I check in weekly with them and kind of help them out in any way that I can. But it's also finding those older mentors within the team that can kind of, here's how I do it, and what's worked for me, and kind of show them the ropes with that and stuff. So
with our visit with other coaches here tonight too, almost every one of them has talked about the ability or the desire to create camaraderie and a willingness to work not only with but for your teammates.
Absolutely. One of the big things that we stress, especially in tennis, is that we are a family. And we certainly have varsity and JV girls, but we try and work at being a team. We have the motto where we work each day to make ourselves and our teammates better. And when you're on the court in practice, whether you're JV or varsity, you're working to improve your teammates. And so yeah, doing team dinners and trying to do other things throughout the year to keep the team together, and that camaraderie is so important and things.
When you get down to the X's and O's of the game, what are the things that you can work on to make each individual better?
Sure. A lot of it is, with tennis, it's very mental. And so we are thrilled to be able to have a sports psychologist with Dr. Gast. She helped us out last year. But in terms of just working on it, with coaching for tennis, you have the ability kind of in between games to quick meet with the girls and kind of look at what's working, what's not working, and try and sometimes calm them down or just kind of have them go back to the basics. A lot of it is making sure that you are stepping in, following through, and keeping the ball in play, especially at this age and level. If you can keep the ball in play, 9 times out of 10 your opponent is going to make those mistakes. They're going to get excited and try and do that. And so just trying to keep things rolling and keep that ball in front of you and things. But yeah, I was able to start kind of doing summer tennis within the community of teaching kind of the basics of tennis. Invited some of our girls to come and help out. And so part of learning and becoming a better athlete too with tennis is coaching and teaching the girls how to do stuff. And so, yeah, it's just a daily thing of kind of staying with the basics. And then as the year goes on, working on the strategy stuff to get them to kind of start thinking of where players are on the court and of course always to hit where they're not. And kind of move them around to kind of set yourself up and stuff. So First part of the year, we're always working just on the ground strokes, getting those fine-tuned, and then kind of working our way up to now you're in a match, you've gotten those experiences, what you've learned, and then how can you set things up.
We know that briefly, you talked briefly just touching on the emotional part of the game and becoming in tuned with what the game and how you can play the game. And so with that, it opens up a whole new avenue of how to approach success in a game.
Absolutely. It's with it being so mental, it is just a belief in yourself of, I know how to hit a forehand and a backhand and a serve, but sometimes when you get going, you start looking big picture of, you know what, I'm down 40 love. The game is, sometimes in their mind, it's done. But you can easily come back if you get in that mindset of play 1 point at a time. And so when we met with Dr. Gass last year, she talked about, after you missed a point, take 2 seconds, kind of figure out what you did, and put that behind you and go to the next point. And so a lot of it is just teaching those girls to kind of think 1 point at a time, one game at a time, instead of going, you know what, I'm down 4 love. I think the game is over with. Well, I've been in situations where I've been up 4-0 and lost it, and also been down 4-0 and come back and won it. So it's just kind of teaching those girls to start believing in themselves, which not just translate into tennis, but also in life as well, of just that belief in, I can do this, I know what I have to do, and just set your mind and go in and do it.
I think we also are going, or I'm going to throw this in, I think that working with someone, the quality of person that Dr. Gast is not going to hurt your efforts in putting together a better team.
Oh, no. She is fabulous. And, the last 2 years of working with her, of taking time to talk with coaches before the season, she's always learning new stuff and figuring out, last year she hadn't really worked too much with tennis. And so she was kind of excited to kind of learn a little bit more about tennis and how can I better that. But she's a great resource to have in my back pocket to kind of go, I have a girl that's struggling. Do you have some tips to kind of work with? Or do you have some time to maybe set something up with this individual and stuff? So, yeah, she is a wonderful asset to not just our team, but Moorhead schools in general.
And so also along that line, we bring in a new subject of the ability to measure speed of hitting the ball, running down the ball, and working it in that direction, almost to the point where logistics are overrunning the sport, whichever sport we're talking about.
Right. Which is great to have, Mr. Musselman coach with that of working with our girls, especially conditioning. Sometimes your matches, especially in the fall, the beginning of the year, it's warm out, and so if you are conditioned to last 3 sets, certainly comes into play of helping out with that. And but yeah, just kind of learning the logistics of all that and how can we, look at everything comes into play, and it's fun. I enjoy it.
That's evident.
Yeah,
that's evident. When we take a look now at your team, the schedule that you've got this year, you've talked about the teams that you play. Is there a rivalry match that you have? A game that you're looking at that's maybe a little bit more difficult than you had hoped?
Yeah, Brainerd is the top of our section. They have been for a number of years. Our girls, for some reason, just do not like to play. They just don't like Brainerd, and they would just like to beat them. Same with Fergus Falls. We played them close last year, and we were seeded 6th out of 7 going into the section tournament. They were seeded 3rd. And we beat them, and that was the highlight of our season for the girls, especially for our seniors to kind of have that win of going off. We played a close one against Bemidji to then get into section finals if we would have won, but we didn't. But for our girls that had that experience last year of underclassmen, to have that experience and to know what it feels like and what it takes to win. We certainly have Friday kind of circled on our schedule of playing Fergus again. I know they want to get back at us of knocking them out last year. But we always look forward to playing Brainerd. And Bemidji is another one that, we played close the last couple of years. It's kind of gone back and forth. And, we're looking forward to it. All our section matches outside of Brainerd are very winnable for us. We're very evenly matched. And so we're excited to see what the season brings, especially with the young team. Sometimes with young girls not having a whole lot of match experience, they just go out and play and don't even think about things, and that comes into play.
Sometimes they don't know any better.
Absolutely. So it's like you got to do what you got to do and keep doing it.
Well, we take a look at your schedule, and we wish you all the very best.
Well, thank you.
It's underway.
It is.
The season is here.
Yeah, we play at the middle school courts, so we have one on Friday if anyone wants to come out and watch us, and cheer us on. We certainly appreciate it.
Brad Hartwig has been with us as we continue our visit with the coaches from Buffalo Wild Wings tonight in Moorhead. We've got Kevin Feeney coming up next.
Natural talent, physical gifts, training advantages. To become a champion, none of that matters. True champions are the ones who are comfortable working harder, staying later, and finding that competitive edge. They are never satisfied simply doing a good job, because those who transform themselves from local talent into local folklore are the ones who continually perform beyond their limits. Bell Bank, proudly supporting champions everywhere.
Northwest Blinds is a proud supporter of all Moorhead Spuds activities. For over 30 years, we've been providing customers with a wide assortment of window covering choices. Owners Arlen and Carla Swenson are available by appointment for a free in-home consultation on all your window covering needs. Call us at 218-236-4813 or find us on the web at nwblinds.com. At Northwest Blinds, we say, you'll wish you had more windows, and go Spuds.
Pam is a small business owner. She is swamped. Pam knows she needs to advertise but is overwhelmed by all the options. Meet Avenue Right. Save time, money, and get peace of mind that your advertising dollars are well spent.
Boss DXT snowplows are tough to beat. Featuring dual trip tech, flared wings, and optional D-force for improved scraping and backdragging performance. Choose from 3 different sizes in steel, stainless steel, and poly. The Boss DXT is built to restore order.
Your home for Boss snowplows is Bert's Truck Equipment on Highway 75 North in Moorhead.
Don't work out where you won't work out. Blueprint Personal Training. At Blueprint, you'll work directly with an experienced personal trainer and nutrition coach in our brand new private gym. Tell us about your fitness goals, and we'll provide the personalized workouts and motivation to get the results you want to see. Training, nutrition, accountability. Blueprint Personal Training. BlueprintFargo.com.
We are The Breakdown. For almost 2 decades, we've published the most comprehensive yearbooks on Minnesota high school sports and run the best in-season and off-season events. We cover every corner of the state. We are The Breakdown.
The morning chill coming our way recently indicates to us that it's soon football season. And that brings us to tonight's visit with the coaches at Buffalo Wild Wings in Moorhead. And we have talked with all the fall coaches, and up next, the guy that sets the table for the upcoming season in all regards, Kevin Feeney and the football team. Once again, everybody's taking a good long look at those Spuds to see how they're going to do.
Yeah, you know what? Come fresh off the football field. I just literally gave the kids.
It's dark out there.
Hey, you know what? Rain or shine, it's always Spud weather. It don't matter. 140 to minus 40, we're good.
And we've been there too.
Right. And last week it was like torrential downpour, and I was like pumping us up that we've got Spud weather and we're good in this.
What are you seeing from your young team this year?
Yeah, you know what? It's been a good fall camp. You know, it really starts with our summer. I feel like we've hit the ground running big time. And we've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of football. We're young, but we've had a lot of guys that have played some varsity football. And so the summer was fantastic for us. I really felt like the kids worked really hard in the weight room, but we accomplished a lot on the field throughout the days. Got in some 7-on-7 tournaments and had a lot of success. And then our team camps were great. And so you know what? I would say we're where we should be at this point. Our install has gone pretty smooth for most of our guys, and obviously our sophomores, we got to continue to bring them along. And they get to this point of the install, when you get into the second week, things can start spinning a little bit faster. And so, you know what? Hopefully in the next couple days we can slow that down again, where they can play fast and stop thinking, and hopefully go out and perform.
When you talk about being a young team this year, you were younger even last year. I mean, you were younger. Nobody's ever heard of a team at this level playing for a full house backfield of ninth graders.
Right. In 25 years, we've never had freshmen playing for us. And like you said, to have the number that we had, and not that in football every position is important, right? But there was a lot of what the outsiders would see that the go-to guys were extremely young. And you know what? It was really a credit to our last year's seniors for embracing them and making sure they're taking them under their wing and showing them the way. But it's also kind of a telltale sign that these kids were pretty talented, and we've got to expect big things here this fall.
When you're still as young as you are and you're going to get into a game of contact, that also becomes a factor.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? And in 5A football, I always tell people that, you know what, when your seniors are really good, you're going to have a great season, because at our level, a majority of the football teams that we face, you know what, you've got to go through the steps, right, and earn the right and the passage to get to varsity football. And it's 17 and 18-year-old game, right? And last year we were playing with some 14 and 15-year-olds. And but you know what? We expect those kids to be able to play at a high level earlier this year. And we're going to need it, because our first 2 games, I think arguably, if you were to go on paper and see who the Section 6 favorites are, it's probably Spring Lake Park and Rogers.
And you're getting them right off the bat.
Right off the bat at Spring Lake Park on a Thursday night.
And so with that Spring Lake Park addition to the schedule, I don't recall that Moorhead's ever been on the road at Spring Lake Park.
No, you know what? Our JV team last year played out there, and to my knowledge, that's the first time Moorhead's ever been out there. Beautiful complex. It's going to be a great, you know, hopefully the weather's good and all that kind of stuff, because I think it's one of the better complexes in the state of Minnesota. And very, very prideful program. I think if you were to look at their standard is section championship. And, you know, a few years back, they played in a state title game. You know what? They've been a part of that, you know, consistent section championship type team, and we're expecting that out of them. And I know they feel like their team is going to be vastly improved from the one we saw last year.
And coming up in the next couple of weeks, we're going to find out for sure right off the field what the seasons will be like.
Absolutely. You know, we go to STMA on Saturday for a scrimmage, and I think we're up against STMA, White Bear Lake, and Monticello are the teams that we're going to be scrimmaging there. And
there's no slouch in that group either.
No, you know what, it's going to be fun. But you know what, that's the beauty of it. We're going to roll off the bus, and you know, our depart will be around 5:45, 6 a.m., and get off the bus, and let's roll the ball out and see where we're at against those teams.
When you take a look at what you might put on the field offensively first, any changes from what we've seen in the last couple of years?
You know what, we've got to be better running the football. There's no doubt about that than last year. You know what, we've got to have more of a presence, and that starts with our offensive line. You know what, we returned some guys with some experience. Ashton Speaker, DeMarco Clay, and Rajab Othman is all returning guys for us, but we need all five. You know what, we've got to be able to play as a cohesive group, and I really like it. We've really challenged these guys, and in the scrimmage, we're going to play a couple centers, we're going to play 4 guards, and we're going to play 4 tackles and let it battle it out and see who's ready for varsity football. And you know what, I really feel like if we can run the football schematically, it's just going to open up our passing game even a little bit more, and we've got to be a threat to run the football because our running backs feel really, really good about our running backs. Our running backs are very, very explosive and have great speed and great toughness.
Of course, with all of that makes it work is the ability of your offensive line to do their job.
Absolutely, and that's where I'm saying. Last year, I think we became a one-dimensional football team, and we threw the football with some success. But on the same token, we've got to be able to keep guys in the box and respect our run. And if we can, you know, spread teams out 52 yards wide and create running holes, we've got the running backs to do it. Now our offensive line needs to get a vertical push and finish and play with a nastiness. And, you know, we lost Jake Erdman. Jake Erdman has been a rock for us on that offensive line. Great leader, great young man. Big shoes to fill in that leadership of that room, though.
And the defensive unit that puts on the field, if you got to do one thing better than the others, that's to stop the other team.
Well, stop the run, right?
Yeah.
I mean, number one, and where we live in this country, you got to be able to stop the run because we know getting into it can be first week in October, and it could be snowing for all I know. But we know playoff football teams can stop the run and they can run the football. And defensively, we're going to get our challenge. Spring Lake Park, split back veer team, they're going to try and pound it down our throats as much as we can. Rogers week 2. I don't think they've thrown the ball 20 times in the last 3 years that we've played them.
As often as Elk River.
Right, exactly. So you know what I mean, and then we get Bemidji and Brainerd, and teams that just want to play slugfest football, and so we're going to find out where we're at. I feel really, really confident with our defense. We run really, really well, and you know, my dad years ago was always like, guess when your team's a really good tackling team? When they can run. And so the more guys that we have get to the football, and hopefully they can arrive in a little bit of a nasty attitude so that they can get that ball out or put people on the ground.
We've asked the other coaches this too. On your schedule that you have, where's the rivalry game?
You know what? I think we've kind of developed a lot of rivals. You know, I would say Rogers has turned into one. We're not.
They're a program that has really taken a leaps.
Absolutely. You know
forward.
what? Right. You know what I mean? And their school's growing, and they're a big school, and they're very, very successful in a lot of sports. And we seem like in basketball, volleyball, track, you know what I mean, that we're running into these guys a lot, when it comes to success. And then, Bemidji, Brainerd are easy ones. I mean, as far as being outstate big school teams that we've consistently had great battles with throughout the years. And Alexandria. I mean, Alexandria, I think, on paper is the favorite in Section 8. They had an opportunity last year to play in the state title game. We're up 17 points, I believe, in the first half, and weren't able to finish it out. And in return, a big chunk of players off that team. And so I think they're the favorites. And so, yeah, I think it's easy to look ahead. I think for us, they're like week 7. So we got a lot of football before we ever get to them. And we're so far away from that at this point. We're just got to worry about week 1 and make sure we get guys some experience.
Yeah, you've got a schedule coming up here that indicates the season is starting right away. I mean, it's right now.
Absolutely. And like I said, I think on paper, we lost a lot of defensive linemen to graduation. And so that's where I would say our biggest challenge on the defensive side is. And like I said, when you're playing Spring Lake Park and Rogers week 1 and week 2, your defensive line is going to get tested right out of the gate because these offensive lines are very, very good. And so our linebackers, we return a lot of experience right there. And then our back end, we return some good guys in the secondary with some speed and some guys that can come down and tackle.
And so with that, football season is right around the corner. Our thanks to the coaches of Moorhead High for being with us tonight from Buffalo Wild Wings. Our thanks to Kevin Feeney as he and the Spuds get their season underway. And we are ready to rock and roll football.
Let's go.
Before I became a real boy, life was easy. I just sat there doing sandwich stuff. But being alive is so hard. So if you don't want to get up to get a sandwich, you shouldn't have to.
Natural talent, physical gifts, training advantages. To become a champion, none of that matters. True champions are the ones who are comfortable working harder, staying later, and finding that competitive edge. They are never satisfied simply doing a good job, because those who transform themselves from local talent into local folklore are the ones who continually perform beyond their limits. Bell Bank, proudly supporting champions everywhere.
Welcome back to Buffalo Wild Wings as we are ready to put the finishing touches on a night with the Moorhead coaches. We have visited with Moorhead Volleyball Amber Fugelberg. We have visited with Isaac Lundberg and Eric Hansen from cross-country teams, strength and conditioning coach Chuck Chris Musselman, and also the soccer coaches for the men and the boys, Ben Patry and Josh Krieg joined us. Girls tennis coach Brett Hartwig, along with football coach Kevin Feeney, and the granddaddy of this whole group, athletic director Dean Haugo, is ready to say, you know what, let's get this season underway.
Yeah, it's time, Larry. You know, I'm really appreciative of you guys putting the work in to put this on. I think this is fantastic.
Alex Ryan does a great job.
Alex does a wonderful job, and the work her and Rick do with Spuds TV and you do with Spuds TV, we're really fortunate. It's something that's envied by many of my colleagues. I know that many wish they could figure out how to do something in their communities that would be similar. But what I would also say is this event specifically, I was telling Brandon and Dr. Lunick over there and Rick Wester that this really kind of goes back to my coaching in small town Breckenridge, right? I mean, every Saturday during your season, every Saturday morning, there was a time slot set aside, and you were on the radio and you were talking about your team and letting the community know what was going on and the ins and the outs. And, you know, it's something that I think we can I think it's really, we're obviously a very big high school, Larry, but at the same time, we are in a single high school community, still a small town to a degree, and we can't not only can't forget about it, but we need to embrace that. And to me, events like this really tie into that. And so I really appreciate the work that everybody's done to put this on.
I always like to use the little saying that Moorhead is a big town made up of small town people.
Yeah, it really is.
And
very, very much.
I believe it makes for the strength of the community.
Yeah, no question about it. And you look, it's a community that values their school, they value their activities, they value education, and so it's, like I said, it's just really fun to have a night like this where we can kind of tie into that just a little bit and put our folks out in front to talk about the kids that they get the opportunity to work with. And your lineup, I thought it was a fantastic lineup. Really happy that everybody got to listen to Coach Musselman talk. When you look at my world, Larry, really, to be very frank, one of the things that we had a great lecturer today, great speaker, not a lecturer, he's far from a lecturer. Our school district brought in a gentleman by the name of Ken Williams, and he spoke to our teaching staff. The entire Moorhead teaching staff gathered in the gymnasium this morning, which, by the way, was super venue, super fun to. And I hope our community is starting to realize that that new facility is very diverse in terms of what we can accomplish with it. Not just volleyball and basketball games and wrestling matches, but also school-wide education events for our teachers and kickoff events for our teachers. And we had a guy by the name of Ken Williams today who spoke, and one of his primary, his real message was dealing with just consistent accountability, consistent expectation, and and making sure that you expect the same out of every kid. And with that said, with consistent expectation, whether it be in the classroom, and obviously I'm not in the classroom, but all of what we do is an extension of that. Not only within the classroom, but within the world that I'm in. I looked at it and thought, okay, how do we model that? How do we work with that? Consistent expectation means you expect every kid that walks through the door of Moorhead High to have the same expectation for success, whatever that may mean. No matter in my world, no matter if kids have resources or don't have, no matter what their resources are. Because let's be very frank, Larry, in every community, ours included, there's kids that can afford to do lots of things to enhance their skill sets as athletes, whether it be personal training, whatever it is. And there's kids that can't afford a lot of those things. And if anybody listened to Coach Musselman talk earlier today, and the reason I bring him up as being so integral is that he helps every kid achieve that same level of expectation. He allows for kids, and by his work that he does, and I know he talked numbers with you when he was here today, you think about the number of student athletes at Moorhead High that are getting high-level, private-level training as a part of their curricular day so that they can meet those expectations at the same level that every kid is on the same playing field. And the whole point is the expectation doesn't change, but the amount of support that we as adults need to provide these kids needs to change. And we need to give everybody the same service to allow them to be successful. So I thought it was a great night. I'm kind of going on here, but I really think that folks out there hopefully got a little feel for our school community, our activities, and what we're trying to accomplish.
There were so many similarities between each coach and the visit that we had here tonight that indicated what needs and should be done is what you have just been talking about, is that closeness, camaraderie, and the willingness to work for each other.
Yeah, no doubt. And we got a really good group of coaches this fall. We've got some people with some seasoning, a few that are a little bit newer, but I'm really excited to see what our teams are going to do, and not only what they're going to achieve on the field, on the court, on the wherever they may be, but just how close do they get to their potential. And when you look at where we're at right now this year, I can't speak for our coaches, but I can speak for myself, our office, with what we do. It is night and day with where we were at a year ago. And what I mean by that, and that is strictly a byproduct of the amount of variables we were dealing with last year. I will say, I look at somebody like a Brett Hartwig, who's in his second year as our tennis coach. But really, in many ways, this is Brett's first year of having a full athletic department, activities department, to support him. When you look at when we were starting last year with the construction project, and a lot of people look at it as a really a December-January issue, not issue, but December-January challenge that we had last year, because that's when we physically moved one building to the next. But even this time of the year, 50, 60, 70% of every day from my standpoint, was spent working on that project in some way, whether it be planning the moving, how are we going to operate without the field house, all of those things, which took time away from what my real job is. Not my real job, I mean, that's part of it, but took time away from what I really, that was one of those things you get to do once in your career, and I'm so thankful for it, but at the same time, for the sake of our coaches, I'm glad it's behind us to a degree. And that sounds negative, but it's the furthest thing from it. It was such a marvelous, wonderful experience. But I look at people like Brett, who came into his first year as a coach. He's a minister by day. He's hustling all he can to figure out this coaching thing because he hadn't been around it a ton, and yet he kind of had to do it on his own. So I feel a lot better about where we are at right now this year in how we are able to support our coaches and then in turn support our student athletes and our participants and everything that we're doing. It's just today was a good day. Our teachers were back, a lot of energy in the building, but I think everybody kind of had okay, we know what to do now. Because last year every day was so all over the place. So it's really fun.
So with that, the school season is about to begin. The sports season schedules are about to begin, and we're underway.
We go, and now it's good. It'll be fun. We still have a lot of new firsts. We haven't played a volleyball game in our gym before, But okay, I will tell people in our community something that I don't think very many people have picked up on, Larry, which is when you look at that construction project, the way that the building lays out, and I've probably shown you this when we walk through it, but there's this the impression the impression from the general Moorhead community member would be, boy, that's a really nice indoor space in terms of, we didn't make any great modifications to our outdoor facility, our stadium or anything. But what people don't realize is the way that our locker rooms are positioned and the way that the parking is positioned and everything is laid out is we will do a ton of sharing. Obviously, the project not only benefited our indoor activities such as volleyball with a new gym, but where the locker rooms are positioned, we actually, I think, enhanced our outdoor supports more than we even enhanced our indoor, which might sound crazy to people. But if you think back, okay, Larry, I'm going to go back 2 years. We play Rogers at home for football on September 6th. It's our first football game. 2 years ago, this is a little-known story, Rogers may have lost a player for a little while in the building at Moorhead High because we were in the midst of major construction when we played them at home that year.
Yeah.
And we had like a random route that we had to take them through the sports center and up and down and all around to get back to their locker room, and I swear to goodness they lost a kid for a while.
You did find them right there.
We did.
Yeah.
It was very minimal. It was after the game. But at the end of the day, Larry, they will have a 4-minute, 50-step walk from their locker room now to the stadium, and vice versa for a lot of our own kids, our teams. We're going to do something on Friday nights. We're going to test run something with football on Friday nights where we are going to use that driveway, the loop that kind of goes between the new building and the stadium. That'll be a plaza area. That'll have some food trucks in it. It'll have some vendors. It'll be just kind of a nice tailgating area where people can mill about and check things out. We will use the indoor concessions as overflow. We will use the indoor restrooms, certainly on Friday nights and any other events that necessitate it. Maybe it's a big track meet or a big lacrosse game or soccer game. So our ability to utilize the indoor and outdoor spaces congruently is a really, really, really nice feature. And a couple things I should mention too. One, few changes for people that are coming out to our events this year. One, we no longer do cash sales at the gate. We are going the route of pretty much everybody of the schools of our size in Minnesota and going cashless at the gate. People can still get their season passes in our office. They can get season passes on their phone. But at the gate when they show up to an event, we will not have the traditional ticket selling operation that we've had. You'll be able to scan on your phone and find some and find tickets very simply and very easily, but we will be transitioning to probably a little bit more efficient way of doing our business.
And so with that, we have heard just about everything we can think about for Moorhead sports coming up in this upcoming season. Our thanks to all the coaches, and our thank you to all the sponsors for being a part of our presentation tonight, including a new member to the sponsor board, Les Schwab Tires. We thank them for being a part for now and throughout the rest of the year. And to Dean Hago and the rest of his staff from Moorhead High School, this is Larry Knutson thank you for being with us tonight.